book of Proverbs, chapter 18. Proverbs 18, and begin, first of all, notice verse 2. A fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. Jump down to verse 6. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Verse 13. He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him. And verse 21 says, Death and life are in the power of the tongue. They that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. The Scriptures have a great deal to say about the tongue, the words that come out of your mouth. Both things spoken aloud and things regarded secretly, in the secret of your heart, are both noticed by God. Nothing is hidden to the eyes and the ears and the mind of God. But right now I want to consider the words that are spoken out loud that can have an effect on your life and the lives of others around you. Someone has said, nothing is opened by mistake more often than the mouth. I heard about a man who was visiting a home of a hunter and a fisherman, and on the wall there was a big mouth bass opened up, mounted on a plaque, and underneath there was a little sign that said, if he had kept his mouth shut, he wouldn't be in this position. And so I want to just deliver an outline I've titled, Watch Your Mouth. Watch your mouth. And the first thing I want to say today about the mouth is your mouth tells others what you are. Your mouth tells other people what you are. Verse 2 again says, A fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. He's not searching for himself, not in that sense, but he's discovering it. He's uncovering it. He is revealing what's in his heart. That's the most important thing to him. Have you ever noticed anybody who thinks they have an important thing to say about the conversation of the moment, whether it be at school or somebody else on your job, but what they say comes out completely ridiculously? It means nothing. It's as though they weren't even listening to the discussion prior. But they thought they had to participate in it somehow. Nothing annoys me more than to run into someone like that. And so I want to be careful not to be that kind of person. You need to give someone your undivided attention, but if they don't have it, then you're going to reveal yourself to be a fool. That person is a fool. They don't want to learn anything. They just want to give an opinion and feel as though they're smart. They're contributing something worthwhile. It may not be worthwhile. There's a person that I work with at my day job, and without stating whether the person's a man or a woman, when you approach her and say something to her, she interrupts with a question before you even finish your sentence. She thinks she knows where the conversation's going and she has to add something to it or to offer. And you're thinking, you're not even listening to me. Why am I wasting my time with you? And I'm certain I'm not the first to be confused by that individual. Proverbs 12, verse 23 states, A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. And Proverbs 13, verse 16 says, Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth open his folly. He lets everyone know that he's a fool. And in chapter 17, verse 28, we read, Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. Sometimes it's good to shut your mouth. And so that's why I say, watch your mouth. If you listen to the speech of others, then soon you can discern and identify which people are fools, which people are prudent and cautious and wise before they... you've heard the expression, open your foot and insert mouth. Open your mouth and insert foot. I got it backwards. But you know what I mean. And some people just can't resist the opportunity. And so I say today, watch your mouth. The second thing I want you to consider is this. Your mouth gets you into trouble. Your mouth gets you into trouble. Verses 6 and 7 again. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes. He's asking for someone to lay into him. He's asking for a rebuke. He's asking for trouble. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. Chapter 26, verse 17 says, He that passeth by and meddleth with strife, belonging not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. That's a good way to get bitten, trying to pick up a dog by the ears. They don't like it. You heard the joke about the fellow took his dog, had a bad case of fleas to the veterinarian, and the vet picked the dog up and says, that's a pretty bad case of fleas. I'm going to have to put him down. And the man says, put him down just for fleas? You know, because he's getting heavy. I'm sorry. But to grab a dog, take a dog by the ears is a good way to get bitten. And putting your nose into someone else's business where it doesn't belong is a good way to make enemies. It's a good way to make enemies. You might make their problems worse by getting yourself involved. Leave it alone if it's not your business. It also may hurt their spiritual growth. That is, if they're a Christian, you might hurt them by presuming to navigate them through their trouble. It might not be your business. It might not be any of your concern. This is a hard thing for people to do, is to admit, it's none of my business. We'll get to that subject in a moment here. But, and it's a great indication that you might have some spiritual maturing yet to do. People may come to resent you and resent you for meddling in their private matter that really had nothing to do with your interests whatsoever. Undoubtedly, the mouth has caused many people to lose out on a promotion at work. You know, that guy is nosy and his gossip is involved in everybody else's business. He's not management material. Or it's caused them to lose their job, be fired outright. You try to tell the boss how to do his job or tell him what he's doing wrong in the running of his company. You're not going to keep a job like that very long. So your mouth gets you into trouble. You have to watch your mouth. Thirdly, let me say this. Your mouth makes you enemies. Your mouth not only gets you into trouble, it makes you enemies. This is following the last point. Verse 8 says, the words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. The words of gossip can hurt, and they can injure in ways that you cannot imagine. Don't just love someone who thinks it's their responsibility, even their right, to spread your personal business around to other people, or to repeat what they think they know about you to the rest of the world. No, you don't love that. You hate that, actually. And yet, you and I may find ourselves doing it to the harm of someone else. That's why I say, watch your mouth. Not only does your mouth get you into trouble when you butt into other people's business, but it can make enemies of others. When you state what you know about them, or what, like I say, you think you know about them, and you may be entirely wrong. Gossip appears to be good. We love hearing it. We love reading about it. We love the learning of it because we think, well, that person's no better than I am. And somehow we sort of justify our own lives, our own sins, our own faults by dwelling on the faults of somebody else. And we spread it around. It somehow makes our life better by contrast. Because I'm not doing that. Therefore, I'm better than them. No, you're not. You're just different than them. You're doing this, and they're not doing this. So they would say they're better than you. It goes back and forth. The words of a talebearer, the effects of a talebearer, are serious indeed. You know, it's grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry over the years. Not just tabloids at the checkout stand, but TV and internet sites that major on the trivia and the minutiae of other people's lives for no good reason except a cheap entertainment value. Today's Sunday, 2 days ago, Prince William and now Princess Catherine were married in Buckingham Palace, in Westminster Abbey in London, England. And for weeks, the newspapers were running these scantily clad photos of her as a runway model, just because they knew it would sell an extra paper or two, just because it would get more readers to the websites or to the magazines. And now you and I are going to be bombarded with every minute detail of their lives, whether we need to know, whether it's any of our business, whether they want us to know, whether it's true or not. Morning, noon, and night. You've seen how they played up the wedding. They're going to play up their personal lives the same way. I mean, we're still hearing about Sarah Ferguson, the former Duchess of York. She's been out of that royal family for years now. And we still hear about her little foibles. Will she be invited to the wedding? What's she going to wear? Who cares? And but it's not, like I say, not just the tabloid, not the internet sites, the TV channel. You have Extra and Access Hollywood, TMZ, and those are just a few of the ones that are in English. The Mexican soaps, the Mexican magazines, the Mexican tabloids, just as bad, the Spanish ones. And I'm certain there's a whole abundance of gossip and chit-chat and tale-bearing websites in Korean. And just as there are just about every other culture with mass media operating 24 hours a day, there are Chinese ones, there are Argentine ones, there are probably Cuban ones. There are probably some out in Iraq where they've got, like a teletype, they're typing out the gossip to each other in caves, perhaps. I don't know. But if it's salacious, if it's meaningless, if it's trivial, the world goes after it. Think about, the things they dwell upon. Where's Lindsay Lohan this week? What's she doing? Who's in rehab this week? Who's having an affair this week? Who's getting divorced this week? Who cares? You shouldn't. But we think that gossip about other people, famous or not famous, is just harmless discussion. It's we can absolve ourselves of any guilt because we're not really hurting anybody by it. Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 quotes the Lord Jesus as saying, "But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." You're to watch your tongue, watch your mouth, because one day it may stand as a testimony against you before the Lord Jesus Christ. What kind of Christian were you along the way? The effects of a talebearer or a gossiping can never be fully undone. So I say, again, watch your mouth. The fourth thing I want you to consider is this point. Your mouth moves too quickly. It moves too quickly. Notice verse 13. He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him. Prejudice means prejudicial. As you give forth a judgment or an opinion before knowing all the facts. And let me say this, don't weigh in on a matter until you've heard the whole story. The expression there are two sides to every story is still true. It might not be as much fun to hear the other person's opinion because you enjoy having your mind made. That's the old expression, my mind's made up, don't confuse me with facts. When it comes to giving advice to others, when it comes to taking sides in somebody else's dispute, hold off. Don't weigh in. Don't get involved until you hear all the story, the whole story. You give to others the same benefit that you would want for yourself, and you would expect others to give to you. This is what I said back in point number 1 about your mouth telling people what you are. Abraham Lincoln once said, better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt. You'll prove you're a fool by opening your mouth when you shouldn't. Don't open your mouth before engaging your brain. Watch your mouth. Fifthly, the last thing I would call to your attention today, your mouth has mighty power. Your mouth has mighty power. Verse 21 again says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. They that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. If a person loves cutting someone down and ridiculing somebody else and tearing them down and belittling them and making them feel miserable, they're going to get the same treatment one day. That's going to come back to bite them and haunt them one day. But, contrary-wise, someone who has the wonderful foresight and kindness, like the Bible says, Proverbs 31, kindness is in the law of her tongue, and you don't look for the bad, you look for something good. When you go through life, you are to give other people the benefit of the doubt. 1 Corinthians 13 tells us, charity believeth all things, hopeth all things. You meet somebody, you give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to be honest with you, they're going to be kind to you, they're going to treat you fairly, just as you would treat them fairly. Now, if they betray you, if they cheat you, if they backstab you, you know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to give the next person the benefit of the doubt, that they're going to be kind to you, they're going to treat you honestly, and they're going to be fair with you. That's how you're supposed to go through life. But your mouth has tremendous power. It can either tear down or it can build up. The tongue of man can quell the anger and the rage of some, or can provoke them to outright hatred. Proverbs 15, verse 1 states, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stirreth up anger. When I was working for Focus on the Family, taking telephone calls, people who had ordered something through their ministry and they didn't receive it or they got it wrong and it was not correct, they would call with a complaint. And it just, somehow, I don't know anything except the direction of God, it just seemed the natural response was to just speak to them in a calm, measured tone. And by the end of the conversation, they had calmed down on the other end of the phone, and they were satisfied that I was going to help them with their concern. And it amazes me how many people don't figure that out. Someone calls to complain, and the person picking up, well, I'm telling you that we're going to fix it. They don't have any confidence that they've called the right person. They're going to hang up and dial hoping to get somebody else. Have you ever done that? You get somebody that's incompetent on the other end, but there's no other phone number to call, so you hang up and dial the switchboard, hoping to get another representative from the company that maybe knows what they're doing. But he says, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stirreth up anger. Later in chapter 27, verse 14, we read, he that blesseth his friend with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, it shall be counted a curse to him. Nobody likes somebody exuberant and loud first thing in the morning. Hey, buddy, it's a great day. How you doing? Shut up. I haven't had my first cup of coffee yet. That's the last thing you want when you show up for work. Is somebody, hey, how's you doing there? Go away. That's the last person you want to confront. Now, once you've got into the groove of things, things take on a little different perspective. But your tongue indeed has mighty power. The Apostle James writes, James chapter 3, quote, "And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue amongst our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. For every kind of beasts, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be." James 3, verses 6 through 10. That's why I titled this outline, Watch Your Mouth. Watch your mouth. Christians, young men, young ladies, even older people, let me conclude by saying this: don't talk too much. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, Proverbs tells us in another place. Secondly, don't meddle in other people's business. Thirdly, don't engage in gossip. Fourthly, don't speak until you know the whole story. And lastly, don't underestimate the power of the tongue, the power of your mouth, for good or for bad, in the lives of others and in your own life. Watch your mouth. You can add an exclamation point to that on the title. Watch your mouth. When I was a little boy, I was in kindergarten. I don't know, how old are you in kindergarten? About 5 years old, maybe. And I was talking earlier about the experience in a Christian school. And something that this kindergarten teacher wanted us to do, like I say, I was new to school. I didn't know what you were supposed to do. Sit in a desk with all these other kids sitting in desks, but I remember this much. I didn't know what we were supposed to do. I'd never been to school before. But the teacher told us to do something, and I told her, I think it was a lady, I don't want to do that. And I sassed back, and so she marched me out. We went down the hallway at Hawthorne Christian School, which was in Miraloma in those days. And there was a bank of 2 or 3 drinking faucets. She made me bite on some soap and get a mouthful of soap in my mouth for talking back to her, and then I rinsed it out of the drinking fountain. My mother had never done that to me before, but that school teacher did. I got to tell you, I never sassed back again after that either. I didn't like the taste of the soap. And so it doesn't take but about once to realize that's not any fun. Gosh, I miss those days. Isn't that strange? You miss some of those days of childhood when that was the worst thing that happened to you. You were pretty lucky in life. We're going to bring this to a close, and I'm going to ask the ladies to come back. But death and life are in the power of the tongue. And the man who enjoys encouraging others and holding off judgment until he knows the whole matter, someone who is wise to not intermeddle himself in the business of other people, that person is going to receive the blessings of God for doing so. But someone who is unwise and they spout their opinion as if it was the fountain of youth for everybody to take advantage of, when they don't know what they're talking about, they do get mixed up in other people's business, They think their opinion is more important than all the other opinions being voiced in the room. That they know more than everybody else knows. Or that it's fun to spread around lies and gossip and rumors about other folks. That's just good, clean fun. Things that they would not want done about themselves. That person is inviting judgment. That person is inviting misery and unhappiness because they're spreading it around to others. It's going to come back to them one day. So that's why I say, and I'll conclude with that, with the title, that watch your mouth.